stop. Before you watch this video, answer one question honestly. Why can you understand English, but still can't speak it fluently? It's not because you don't know enough words. It's not because your grammar is weak. And it's definitely not because you're bad at English. The real reason is hidden, and almost no one talks about it. Right now, your brain is working against you. You are translating, you are overthinking, you are hesitating, and every second you delay, your confidence drops. But what if I told you, you don't need more vocabulary, you don't need perfect grammar, you don't need years of study, you just need to change the way you think. Because the moment you start thinking in English, everything changes, your speed increases, your fear disappears, your words start flowing naturally. In this video, I'm going to show you 12 powerful lessons that will rewire your mind and help you speak English fluently without fear. Not slowly, not someday, but starting today. So if you're ready to stop translating and start speaking like a natural, let's begin. 1. Stop translating in your head. Let me tell you something most English learners never realize. You are not struggling because you don't know enough English. You're struggling because your brain is working in the wrong way. Every time you try to speak, there is a hidden delay. First, you form the sentence in your own language. Then you search for the English version. Then you worry about grammar. And in that moment, your confidence drops and your speech stops. This is why you feel stuck. This is why you hesitate. This is why you think, I understand English, but I can't speak it. The problem is not your knowledge. The problem is translation. As long as you keep translating in your head, you will never speak naturally. You will always be one step behind your own thoughts. Fluent speakers don't translate. They don't convert ideas from one language to another. They think directly in English. That's why their speech is fast, smooth, and effortless. Now here's the shift you need to make. Stop trying to create perfect sentences. Start creating simple thoughts. Your brain doesn't need complexity. It needs speed and clarity. Begin with small, direct ideas. I am tired. I am ready. I like this. I don't understand. These are not just sentences. This is training. This is how you teach your brain a new habit. At first, it will feel strange. Your mind will try to go back to your native language. It will feel easier to translate. But that comfort is the same thing that is slowing you down. You have to resist it. Even if your English feels basic, even if your sentences are not perfect, keep thinking in English. Because every time you do that, you are building a new pathway in your mind. And slowly, something powerful begins to happen. You stop pausing before speaking. You stop overthinking every word. You start responding naturally. One day, you will say something in English without translating, and you won't even notice how it happened. That is when your fluency begins. So make this your rule from today. Don't translate. Think simple. Think direct. Think in English. Because the moment you change the way you think, you change the way you speak. Start with simple thoughts. Most English learners make a critical mistake. They try to think in perfect English instead of simple English. And that one mistake creates pressure. It slows your mind down. It makes you overthink every word. You start asking yourself, is this correct? Is this grammar right? And suddenly speaking becomes stressful instead of natural. But here's the truth. Fluency does not begin with complex sentences. Fluency begins with simple thoughts. Think about how a child learns a language. They don't start with long, advanced sentences. They begin with small, clear ideas. Step by step, their brain builds speed, confidence, and understanding. You must do the same. Stop trying to impress. Stop trying to sound advanced. Start thinking in the easiest way possible. Instead of forcing long sentences, just break everything down. I am going to the market because I need some food. Becomes I go market, I need food. Simple, direct, clear. This is how you train your brain to move faster. Your goal is not perfection. Your goal is flow. Because when your thoughts are simple, your speaking becomes natural. There is no pressure, there is no fear. Your mind doesn't freeze. At first, your English might sound basic. That's okay. Basic is powerful. Basic is where fluency is built. And something important happens when you think simply. Your brain stops focusing on rules and starts focusing on meaning. You begin to express ideas instead of building sentences. You begin to communicate instead of calculate. That is the turning point. Over time, your simple thoughts will naturally grow into better sentences. You won't have to force it. Your brain will upgrade automatically because it is already comfortable thinking in English. But if you skip this step, if you try to jump directly to advanced thinking, you will always feel stuck. So from now on, give yourself permission to be simple. Think small, think clear, think fast. Because fluency is not about how complicated your English is. It's about how easily your thoughts can turn into words. 3. Talk to yourself daily. One of the biggest excuses learners make is this: I don't have anyone to practice English with. But the truth is, you don't need anyone. The most powerful speaking practice is always available to you. It's your own voice. If you can think, you can speak. And if you can speak to yourself every day, you can build fluency faster than most people. Here's what most learners don't understand. Fluency is not built in conversations. Fluency is built in preparation. When you finally speak to someone, that is not practice. That is performance. The real training happens when you are alone, training your mind to respond, to express, to speak without hesitation. This is where self-talk becomes powerful. Start with your daily life. As you move through your day, describe what you are doing. I am waking up. I am brushing my teeth. I am getting ready. I need to finish this work. At first, it may feel strange. You might feel uncomfortable speaking out loud when no one is around, but that discomfort is a sign that you are stepping out of your old habits. And that is exactly what you need. Then take it one step further and ask yourself questions and answer them. What am I doing now? I am studying. What do I need today? I need to complete my tasks. This simple exercise trains your brain to think and respond in English automatically. You are not just speaking, you are building a conversation system inside your mind, and something powerful starts to happen. Your hesitation begins to disappear. Your sentences come faster. Your confidence grows even without an audience. Because now, speaking English is no longer something you only do in special situations. It becomes part of your daily life. And when the moment comes to speak with someone else, you are ready, not because you practiced with them, but because you practiced with yourself. So make this a daily habit. Speak to yourself. Think out loud. Turn your routine into practice. Because the more you use your voice, the more natural English becomes. 4. Use real-life situations. Most learners study English like a subject. They memorize words, they read books, they watch lessons. But when it's time to speak, their mind goes blank. Why? Because their English is not connected to real life. You don't speak English in a classroom, you speak English in moments. And if your brain is not trained to connect English with your daily environment, you will always struggle to respond naturally. So here's the shift you need to make. Stop learning English only from books. Start living English in your daily life. Look around you right now. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you do can become English practice. When you pick up your phone, and I say in your mind, "This is my phone." When you open a door, I am opening the door. When you walk outside, the weather is nice. It is hot today. I see people walking. These are small moments, but they are powerful, because now your brain is not just learning English. It is connecting English to reality. And this changes everything. Instead of searching for words when you need them, your brain already knows them because you have used them in real situations. English stops being something you study and starts becoming something you experience. At first, you will need to remind yourself to do this. It won't feel automatic. But with repetition, your brain will begin to recognize objects, actions, and situations in English without effort. That's when fluency starts to grow. Because real fluency is not about knowing words. It's about using them instantly in real life. So from now on, don't wait for a perfect time to practice. Use every moment, your room, your phone, your routine, your surroundings. Everything is your classroom. And the more you connect English to your real world, the more natural your speaking will become. 5. Think in questions and answers. There is a powerful shift that separates slow learners from fluent speakers. Fluent speakers don't just think in statements, they think in conversations, and that is exactly what you need to train. Most learners wait for someone else to ask them a question before they try to speak. They depend on external conversations. But this creates a problem because if no one is there, your English stops. Your practice stops. Your progress stops. But what if you could create conversations inside your own mind? This is where the technique of thinking in questions and answers becomes powerful. Instead of waiting for someone else, you become both the speaker and the listener. You ask, you answer, you continue. This builds a natural speaking flow inside your brain. Start with very simple questions. What am I doing? I am watching this video. What do I want right now? I want to improve my English. Why am I learning English? Because I want to speak confidently. At first, these may feel like basic exercises, but they are doing something very important. They are training your brain to respond instantly. When you ask a question, your mind is forced to search for an answer quickly. This reduces hesitation. It pushes your brain to think faster in English instead of translating slowly. Now take it a step further. Expand your questions. What did I do today? I woke up early, I checked my phone, and I started studying. What will I do tomorrow? I will practice speaking and learn new words. Now your brain is not just thinking. It is building structure, sequence, and clarity. And something powerful begins to happen. You start forming longer sentences without fear. You start organizing your thoughts more clearly. You start speaking with direction instead of confusion. Because conversation is not random, it follows a pattern. Question, answer, follow-up. And when you practice this pattern daily, your brain learns how to handle real conversations without panic. Most people freeze in conversations not because they don't know English, but because their brain is not trained to respond under pressure. This method removes that pressure. Because now your brain is used to being asked questions. It is used to finding answers. It is used to expressing ideas. You are building a system. Even when you're alone, you are preparing for real conversations. And here's the key. Don't aim for perfect answers. Aim for quick answers. Speed matters more than perfection in this stage. If your answer is simple, that's fine. If your grammar is not perfect, that's fine. What matters is that you are thinking and responding in English without stopping. Over time, your answers will naturally improve. Your sentences will become smoother. Your confidence will grow. But it all starts with this habit. So make it part of your daily routine. Ask yourself questions throughout the day. When you wake up, when you eat, when you work, when you relax. Turn your thoughts into a conversation, because the more you practice answering yourself, the easier it becomes to answer others. And the day you stop fearing questions is the day your speaking becomes truly fluent. 6. Don't fear mistakes. There is one invisible force that stops more English learners than anything else. It's not lack of vocabulary. It's not grammar. It's fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of sounding stupid. Fear of being judged. And this fear is dangerous because it doesn't just slow you down, it silences you. You know words, but you don't say them. You understand sentences, but you don't speak them. You have ideas, but you keep them inside. Not because you can't speak, but because you're afraid to make mistakes. And here's the truth you need to accept. If you are trying to speak perfect English before you speak at all, you will never speak. Perfection is not the beginning of fluency. It is the result of fluency. Fluent speakers are not people who never make mistakes. They are people who are not afraid of making them. Think about how you learned your first language. You didn't speak perfectly. You made mistakes again and again. You said words wrong. You built broken sentences, but you kept speaking, and slowly, naturally, your language improved. Why? Because your focus was not on being perfect. Your focus was on expressing yourself. That is the mindset you need to bring into English. Right now, your brain is trained to avoid mistakes. Every time you try to speak, a voice inside you says, "Wait, is this correct? Maybe I should not say this. What if I say it wrong?" And in that moment, you stop. That hesitation is the real problem, because fluency requires movement. It requires flow. It requires courage to continue even when you are not sure. So you must change your relationship with mistakes. Instead of seeing mistakes as failure, start seeing them as feedback. Every mistake is a signal. It shows you where you need to improve. It shows you what you don't fully understand yet. And that is valuable because if you never make mistakes, you are not pushing yourself. You are staying in your comfort zone. You are speaking only what feels safe. And safety does not build fluency. Growth happens when you go beyond what is comfortable. When you try sentences you are not sure about. When you speak even when your grammar is not perfect. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. You might speak and immediately think, "That was wrong." You might feel embarrassed. You might want to stop, but don't. Keep going. Because something powerful happens when you stop fearing mistakes. Your mind becomes free. Your speech becomes faster. Your confidence starts to rise. You no longer pause to check every word. You no longer hold back your thoughts. You begin to express yourself fully. And over time, your mistakes start to reduce naturally. Not because you avoided them, but because you went through them. This is how real learning works. You try, you fail, you adjust, you improve. Again and again. And with each cycle, you become stronger. Now understand this clearly. People are not judging you as much as you think. Most people respect effort. Most people understand that you are learning. And even if someone judges you, it does not matter. Because your goal is not to impress people. Your goal is to improve yourself, so you must make a decision. Will you protect your ego, or will you build your fluency? Because you cannot do both. If you protect your ego, you will stay silent. If you accept mistakes, you will grow. From today, change your rule. Speak even if it's not perfect. Speak even if you are unsure. Speak even if you make mistakes. Because every time you speak without fear, you break a barrier inside your mind. And once that barrier is broken, fluency becomes possible. So don't wait until you feel ready. Start speaking now. Make mistakes, learn from them, move forward. Because the only real mistake is staying silent. 7. Listen more than you speak. There is something most learners completely misunderstand about fluency. They think speaking more will make them fluent faster. So they push themselves to speak again and again, forcing sentences, struggling with words, feeling stuck and frustrated. But here is the truth. You cannot speak what your brain has not fully absorbed. Fluency does not begin with speaking, it begins with listening. Before you ever spoke your first word in your native language, you listened for months. You absorbed sounds, patterns, rhythm, tone. Your brain was silently building a system, and one day, speaking happened naturally. That is exactly how English works. If your input is weak, your output will always be weak. This is why many learners feel like they are trying hard but not improving. They are speaking with limited input. They are trying to build sentences without enough exposure to how real English sounds. So they guess, they hesitate, they translate, they struggle. Listening fixes this. When you listen daily, something powerful happens inside your brain. You begin to recognize patterns without effort. You start understanding how sentences are naturally formed. You feel the rhythm of the language. You don't have to think about grammar rules, and because your brain starts learning them automatically. This is called natural acquisition. But here's the important part. Not all listening is equal. Passive listening will not change you. Active listening will. Passive listening is when English is playing in the background, but your mind is somewhere else. Active listening is when you are fully present. You pay attention to how words are connected. You notice pronunciation. You observe how speakers pause, emphasize, and express emotion. You are not just hearing English. You are studying it without forcing it. And this builds something very powerful: intuition. Instead of thinking, "Is this sentence correct?" you begin to feel what sounds right. That feeling is what fluent speakers rely on. Now let's go deeper. When you listen consistently, your brain starts storing ready-made sentence patterns. For example, instead of building a sentence word by word like this, "I want, go, market," your brain already knows, "I want to go to the market." Why? Because you have heard it multiple times. So when you speak, you are not creating sentences from scratch. You are recalling patterns. This is faster. This is smoother. This is natural. And this is exactly what you need for fluency. But most learners don't listen enough. They spend hours studying grammar, memorizing vocabulary, reading rules, but they don't give their brain enough real English to absorb. So when it's time to speak, everything feels unnatural. Listening solves this gap. Now, here is how you should listen. Choose content that is slightly above your level, but still understandable. If it is too easy, you won't grow. If it is too difficult, you will feel lost. Find that balance. Listen to conversations, podcasts, simple dialogues, anything that reflects real spoken English. And don't just listen once. Repeat. Listen again and again. Each time, your understanding will deepen. At first, you may catch only a few words. Then you will start understanding sentences. Then you will begin to understand meaning without translating. And eventually, something changes. You stop trying to understand English. You just understand it. That is a major breakthrough. Because once understanding becomes automatic, speaking becomes easier. Your brain is no longer struggling to process language. It is ready to use it. Now, combine listening with thinking. After you listen to something, pause and repeat the idea in your own words. If you hear, "I didn't expect that to happen," you can think, "That was surprising. I didn't see that coming." This builds flexibility in your thinking. You are not copying, you are adapting. And this is how real communication works. Over time, your brain becomes rich with expressions, structures, and patterns. And when you speak, you don't search for words. Words come to you. You don't build sentences slowly. Sentences flow naturally. You don't feel lost. You feel in control. All because you trained your brain through listening. So make listening a daily habit. Even 15 to 20 minutes of focused listening can transform your English over time. Do it in the morning. Do it while walking. Do it before sleeping. But do it consistently. Because the more you listen, the more your brain absorbs. And the more your brain absorbs, the easier speaking becomes. Remember this clearly. Speaking is not the first step. Listening is. If you feed your mind with real English every day, your fluency is not a question of if. It is only a matter of when. 8. Use repetition powerfully. There is one principle that silently controls how fast you learn English. Repetition. But not the boring, mindless repetition most people think of. Not repeating words without understanding. Not reading the same sentence again and again with no focus. That kind of repetition wastes time. The kind of repetition that builds fluency is intentional, focused, and active. And if you master this, your progress will accelerate faster than you expect. Let's understand something important first. Your brain does not learn from exposure alone. It learns from repeated exposure with attention. Hearing something once is not enough. Seeing a sentence one time is not enough. Your brain needs patterns. It needs reinforcement. That's how memory is built. That's how fluency is formed. Every fluent speaker you see has heard thousands of sentences again and again. They didn't memorize them consciously, but through repetition, those patterns became automatic. And that is your goal. You don't want to remember English. You want English to become automatic. Now here's where most learners go wrong. They keep moving forward too fast. New video, new lesson, new words, new content, but they don't repeat what they already learned. so nothing sticks. It feels like progress, but it's not deep learning. Real progress comes when you stay with something and repeat it until it becomes part of you. So instead of always chasing new content, start going deeper with what you already have. Take one sentence, one short dialogue, one small idea, and repeat it with purpose. First, listen carefully. Understand the meaning, notice the structure, then repeat it out loud, not once, not twice, but multiple times. With attention, focus on how the sentence flows. Focus on how the words connect. Focus on pronunciation, rhythm, and tone. At first, it may feel slow, but something powerful is happening inside your brain. You are building a pattern, and once a pattern is repeated enough times, thus it becomes automatic. Now take it one step further. Don't just repeat exactly the same sentence. Play with it. Change small parts. I am learning English. I am learning fast. I am learning every day. I am learning with focus. Now you're not just repeating, you are expanding. This is how your brain builds flexibility. You start understanding how sentences work, not just what they mean. And that's a major shift. Because now you are not memorizing English, you are using English. Let's go deeper. There are 3 levels of repetition you must use. Level 1 is listening repetition. You listen to the same audio multiple times. Each time, your understanding improves. You catch more words. You notice more details. Level 2 is speaking repetition. You repeat out loud. You train your mouth, your voice, your pronunciation. This builds confidence and muscle memory. Level 3 is thinking repetition. You take the same sentence and think it in different situations. I need water. I need rest. I need help. Now your brain is using the structure naturally. When you combine these 3 levels, your learning becomes powerful. Listening trains your ears, speaking trains your voice, thinking trains your mind, and together, they create fluency. Now understand this clearly. Repetition is not boring when you do it right. It becomes powerful because every repetition takes you deeper. The first time, you understand the sentence. The second time, you feel the structure. The third time, you start predicting it. The fourth time, you can say it naturally. And after enough repetition, you don't need to think about it at all. It becomes part of you. That is the goal. Now let's address a common problem. Many learners say, I get bored repeating the same thing. That's because they repeat without purpose. When you repeat with focus, when you notice improvement, when you feel yourself getting better, repetition becomes satisfying. You start seeing progress. You start feeling control. And that motivates you to continue. So change your mindset. Don't ask, how much new content can I learn today? Ask, how deeply can I learn this one thing? Depth creates mastery, and mastery creates confidence. Another powerful technique is spaced repetition. Instead of repeating everything in one session, revisit it after some time. Repeat today, repeat tomorrow, repeat after a few days. Each time your brain strengthens the memory, it moves from short-term memory to long-term memory, and that's when English becomes natural. Now imagine this. You have repeated a sentence so many times that when you need it in a real conversation, it comes out instantly. No thinking, no hesitation, no translation, just natural speech. That is the power of repetition. It removes effort, it removes struggle, it creates flow. And once you experience that, you will never go back to shallow learning. So, from today, slow down, choose less, but repeat more. Don't rush to finish lessons. Focus on absorbing them. Repeat with attention. Repeat with purpose. Repeat until it becomes natural, because fluency is not built by how much you learn. It is built by how much you repeat until it becomes automatic. And the moment your English becomes automatic is the moment you start speaking without fear. 9. Visualize while thinking. There is something happening inside your mind right now, and you probably don't even notice it. Every time you think, you are not thinking in words first. You are thinking in images. A picture appears in your mind, a situation, a feeling, a scene, and only after that, and you try to convert it into language. This is where most English learners get stuck, because instead of connecting English directly to that image, they take a longer path. Image to native language to English. That extra step creates delay. That delay creates hesitation. That hesitation destroys confidence. And over time, your brain becomes trained to depend on translation instead of thinking freely. But what if you remove that middle step? What if you connect English directly to what you see in your mind? That is the power of visualization. When you start thinking in images and attach English directly to those images, your brain becomes faster. Your thoughts become clearer. Your speech becomes natural. You don't translate anymore. You react. Let's make this simple. Right now, imagine this clearly. You are walking in a quiet park. There are green trees around you. The weather is calm. You can hear birds. Now, instead of thinking in your native language, describe this image in English. I am walking in the park. The weather is nice. I hear birds. It feels peaceful. Notice something important here. You didn't need to translate. You simply described what you saw. This is exactly how fluent speakers think. They don't build sentences slowly. They respond to images instantly, and that's why their speech flows. Now let's go deeper. Visualization is not only about real situations, it is also about creating practice inside your mind. You can imagine scenarios that may not be happening right now, but could happen in real life. For example, imagine you are at a shop. You see the items, you talk to the shopkeeper. Now think, I want to buy this. How much is this? That is expensive. Can you reduce the price? You are creating a conversation inside your mind, and here's the powerful part. Your brain treats this as real practice. Even though you are alone, even though nothing is physically happening, your brain is training. So when you face a real situation later, it feels familiar. You are not thinking from zero. You are responding from memory. That reduces fear. That increases speed. That builds confidence. Now imagine doing this every day. You wake up and visualize your morning. I am waking up. I am brushing my teeth. I am getting ready. Then you imagine your work or school. I will talk to people. I will explain my ideas. I will ask questions. You are preparing your brain before the day even begins. This is powerful because you are not just learning English. You are living it mentally. And when reality matches your mental practice, your speaking becomes smooth. Now let's address a mistake many learners make. They try to think only in words. They force sentences without any clear image. This makes thinking heavy and slow. It feels like effort. But when you use visualization, thinking becomes easier. Because you are not forcing language. You are simply describing what you see. And describing is natural for the brain. Let's take another example. Picture this clearly. You are sitting near a window. It is raining outside. You are holding a cup of tea. Now say in your mind, it is raining. I am sitting near the window. I feel relaxed. I like this moment. The image guides your words. You don't get stuck. You don't search too much. You don't feel pressure. Because your brain already knows what to say, it just needs to express it. Now, here is how you can practice this effectively. First, observe real life. Look around you and describe what you see in English. Second, create imaginary situations. Imagine conversations, places, actions, and describe them. Third, repeat those situations. Come back to the same image again later and describe it faster. Each time, your speed improves. Fourth, combine this with emotion. Don't just describe actions. Describe feelings. I feel happy. I am excited. I am nervous. This makes your thinking more real, more human, more natural. And this is important because real communication is not only about information, it is about feeling. Now let's go even deeper. Visualization can also change your belief about yourself. If you always imagine yourself struggling, forgetting words, feeling nervous, your brain will accept that as reality. But if you start visualizing yourself speaking confidently, responding quickly, expressing ideas clearly, your brain begins to move toward that identity. So don't just visualize situations. Visualize success. See yourself speaking English without fear. See yourself having smooth conversations. See yourself understanding everything easily. And as you see it, think in English. Because your brain follows what you repeatedly imagine. This is not just practice. This is transformation. Over time, something incredible happens. You stop translating. You stop overthinking. You stop freezing. Instead, you see to you, think to you, speak. Directly, naturally, effortlessly. And that is fluency. So from today, change the way you think. Don't just use words, use images. See clearly, think simply. Speak directly, because the faster you can connect what you see with what you say, the faster your English becomes natural, and the day your mind starts thinking in images and English together is the day you stop learning English and start living it. 10. Learn phrases, not just words. There is a mistake that almost every English learner makes, and it silently destroys fluency. They focus too much on single words. They memorize long vocabulary lists. They learn meanings. They feel like they are improving. But when it's time to speak, nothing comes out smoothly. Why? Because real language is not built from isolated words. It is built from phrases. Fluent speakers don't think word by word. They think in groups of words, ready-made expressions, natural patterns. That's why they speak fast. That's why they sound natural. That's why they don't hesitate. Now compare this with how most learners try to speak. They start with one word, then search for the next, then try to connect them. I want go, market? This is slow. This is stressful. This is unnatural. But a fluent speaker doesn't build that sentence from zero. Their brain already knows the phrase, I want to go to the market. It comes out as one piece, not separate parts, and this is the shift you need to make. Stop learning English word by word. Start learning English phrase by phrase, because phrases are the real building blocks of fluency. Let's understand why this is so powerful. When you learn a single word like think, you only know the meaning, but when you learn phrases like, let me think, I'm thinking about it, think about it carefully. Now you know how the word actually works in real communication. You don't just know English, yet you know how to use English. And that changes everything. Because speaking is not about knowing meanings. It's about expressing ideas quickly and naturally. Now here's another important point. Phrases reduce thinking time. When you learn full expressions, your brain doesn't need to build sentences step by step. It simply selects a phrase and uses it. This saves energy. This increases speed. This creates flow. And that's exactly what you need for fluency. Let's take a simple example. Instead of learning the word understand, learn phrases like, I understand, I don't understand. I understand what you mean. Now I understand. Now, in a real conversation, you don't have to think. You already have ready-made responses, and this gives you confidence. Now let's go deeper. Phrases also help you sound natural, because native speakers don't speak in perfect grammar rules, they speak in common patterns. For example, that makes sense. I'll get back to you. Give me a second. I'll figure it out. These are not random sentences. These are phrases used again and again in real life. If you learn these, you instantly sound more fluent, even if your grammar is not perfect. This is the shortcut most learners ignore. They try to build perfect sentences instead of using natural expressions. But fluency is not about perfection. It's about familiarity. The more familiar you are with common phrases, the easier it becomes to speak. Now here's how you should practice this. First, when you learn something new, don't stop at the word. Look for how it is used in sentences. Learn at least 2 to 3 phrases with that word. Second, repeat those phrases. Say them out loud. Think them in your mind. Use them in your daily self-talk. Third, use them in different situations. If you learn, "I'll try," use it again and again. "I'll try again." "I'll try later." "I'll try my best." Now the phrase becomes part of you. Fourth, listen for phrases. When you watch videos or listen to English, don't focus only on understanding. Notice how people speak. Notice common expressions and copy them. This is how real learning happens. Now let's address something important. Some learners think they need a huge vocabulary to be fluent. That's not true. You don't need thousands of words. You need a strong base of useful phrases. A small number of phrases used correctly is more powerful than a large number of words used poorly, because communication is about clarity, not complexity. Now imagine this. You have trained your brain with common phrases. Someone asks you something, and you respond instantly. "Let me think." "That's a good question." "I'm not sure, but I think you're right." No hesitation, no struggle, no translation. Just natural response. That is fluency, and it comes from phrases. Over time, your brain builds a library of expressions. You don't memorize them consciously. You absorb them through repetition and use. And when you speak, your brain selects the right phrase automatically. This is how fluent communication works. Now here's the final shift you need to make. Stop asking, "How many words do I know?" Start asking, "How many phrases can I use naturally?" Because that is what truly matters. From today, learn phrases, repeat them, use them daily, turn them into habits. Because the more phrases you own, the less you need to think. And the less you think, the more you flow. And the moment your speech starts flowing is the moment you start sounding fluent. 11. Build confidence through action. There is a belief that silently holds most English learners back. I will speak when I feel confident. It sounds logical, it feels right, but it is completely wrong. Because confidence does not come before action. Confidence is created because of action. And as long as you are waiting to feel ready, you will keep waiting. Think about it. How many times have you understood something in English, but didn't speak? How many times did you know the answer, but stayed silent? How many times did you want to say something, but stopped yourself? Not because you didn't know, but because you didn't feel confident. This is the trap. You are waiting for a feeling that only comes after you act, so your progress gets stuck. You keep learning, you keep watching, you keep preparing, but you don't step forward, and without action, there is no growth. Now understand this clearly. Confidence is not a requirement, it is a result. It is built slowly through repeated action. Every time you speak, but even if it's not perfect, you send a signal to your brain, "I can do this." And your brain starts to believe it. But every time you stay silent, you send the opposite signal, "I'm not ready." And your brain strengthens that fear. So the real question is not, "Am I confident enough to speak?" The real question is, "Am I willing to speak even without confidence?" Because that is where transformation begins. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your voice might shake. Your sentences might be broken. You might pause, hesitate, or forget words. And your mind will try to stop you. This is not good enough. What if I make a mistake? What if people judge me? But you must move forward anyway, because that discomfort is the path to growth. Every fluent speaker you see today has gone through this stage. They were not confident in the beginning. They made mistakes, they felt nervous, but they kept speaking. and that is why they improved. Now here's something powerful you need to understand. Confidence grows in layers. The first layer is speaking to yourself. No pressure, no audience, just you. You build comfort with your own voice. The second layer is speaking in low-risk situations, short conversations, simple responses. You start testing yourself. The third layer is real interaction. Now you speak with others, even if you are not perfect. Each layer builds on the previous one, and slowly, your fear begins to disappear. Not because you forced confidence, but because you built it through action. Now let's go deeper. Action does something else that is very important. It creates evidence. Every time you speak, you collect proof. I said that sentence. I expressed that idea. I handled that situation. These small wins build your belief. And belief is powerful, because once you believe you can do something, you start doing it more easily. But if you never take action, you never collect that evidence, and your mind stays stuck in doubt. I don't think I can speak. I'm not ready. I need more practice. This cycle never ends, so you must break it. And the only way to break it is action. Now, here is another important shift. Stop judging yourself while you are speaking. Many learners speak, and at the same time, they are judging every word. Was that correct? Did I say that right? This sounds wrong. This destroys your flow, because you cannot speak and judge at the same time. Fluent speakers don't stop mid-sentence to correct themselves. They keep going, and that's what you need to do. Speak first, improve later, let your thoughts flow, let your words come out. Then, after you finish, you can reflect and improve. But in the moment, focus on expression. Now imagine this. You speak every day, even a little, you push yourself beyond your comfort zone. You stop waiting for perfection, you accept mistakes, and continue. What happens? Your hesitation reduces, your speed increases, your fear weakens, and slowly, something changes inside you. You don't feel nervous anymore. You don't overthink every sentence. You don't stop yourself. You just speak, and that is confidence. Not something you waited for, but something you built. Now here is your new rule. Do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait to feel confident. Take action first. Speak when it feels uncomfortable. Speak when you are unsure. Speak when you feel nervous, because every time you do that, you become stronger. And over time, the fear that once controlled you will disappear. And in its place, you will find confidence. Real confidence. Built through action. So from today, stop preparing endlessly. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start speaking now. Because the more you act, the more confident you become. And the more confident you become, the closer you get to fluency. 12. Be consistent. Every day. There is one truth that decides whether you will become fluent in English or stay stuck forever. It is not talent. It is not intelligence. It is not even how much time you study in one day. It is consistency. What you do every day matters far more than what you do once in a while. Most learners don't fail because they are incapable. They fail because they are inconsistent. One day they feel motivated. They study for hours. The next day, they do nothing. Then a few days later, they try again. This cycle creates frustration because every time you stop, your brain forgets. Every time you break the habit, you lose momentum. And without momentum, fluency becomes impossible. Now, understand this deeply. Language is not learned in big efforts. It is built through small, repeated actions. Just like going to the gym. You don't build strength by working out once for 5 hours. You build strength by showing up every day, even for a short time. English works the same way. Even 10 to 20 minutes daily can change everything. If you do it consistently, because your brain learns through repetition over time. Every day you practice, you strengthen connections in your mind. You improve recall speed. You reduce hesitation. And slowly, your thinking starts to change. But when you stop for days, those connections weaken, your confidence drops. You feel like you're starting again. That's why consistency is everything. Now let's go deeper. Consistency is not just about time, it's about habit. You must reach a point where practicing English is not something you decide to do. It becomes something you automatically do, like brushing your teeth, like checking your phone. No thinking, no resistance, just action. And to reach that level, you need a simple system, not a complicated plan, not long study sessions, a simple, repeatable routine. Here is what that looks like. Every day you do 3 things. You listen to English, you think in English, you speak in English, even if it's for a short time. That's it. You don't need perfection, you need consistency. Now imagine this. You follow this routine every day. Day 1, it feels new. Day 3, it feels a little easier. Day 7, it starts becoming normal. Day 30, it becomes a habit, and after a few months, your thinking changes. Your speaking improves. Your confidence grows. Not because you did something extreme, but because you showed up every day. Now here's the biggest mistake you must avoid. Waiting for motivation. Most learners think, I'll practice when I feel motivated. But motivation is unreliable. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel lazy. If you depend on motivation, your progress will be inconsistent. Instead, depend on discipline. Discipline means you practice even when you don't feel like it. Even when you are tired, even when you are busy, even when you don't see immediate results, because you understand something important. Every small effort counts. Even a short session matters. Even 5 minutes of thinking in English is better than nothing, because consistency keeps the connection alive. Now let's talk about momentum. Momentum is what makes learning easier over time. Right at the beginning, everything feels hard. You have to force yourself. You have to remind yourself. But as you stay consistent, your brain adapts. English starts to feel familiar. Thinking becomes easier. Speaking becomes smoother. And now, it requires less effort. That is momentum. And once you build it, you don't want to lose it, because you know how hard it was to start. Now imagine the opposite. You practice for a few days, then stop. When you come back, everything feels difficult again. Your confidence drops, your speed slows down, and you feel frustrated. This is what inconsistency does. It keeps you stuck in the beginning stage. So your goal is simple. Never break the chain. Even if you are busy, do something small. Listen for 5 minutes. Think a few sentences. Speak to yourself briefly. Keep the habit alive. Because once the habit breaks, it becomes harder to restart. Now let's make this even more powerful. Track your consistency. Mark each day you practice. Day 1, check. Day 2, check. Day 3, check. As the chain grows, you feel motivated to continue. You don't want to break it. This builds discipline naturally. Now here's another important truth. Consistency beats intensity. Practicing 15 minutes daily for 30 days is far more powerful than practicing 5 hours once a week. Because daily practice keeps your brain engaged. It keeps English active in your mind. And active knowledge becomes fluent knowledge. Now let's talk about patience. Consistency works slowly but powerfully. At first, you may not see big changes. You may feel like nothing is happening. But inside your brain, everything is changing. Connections are forming. Patterns are building. Confidence is growing. And then one day, you realize something. You are thinking faster. You are speaking easier. You are understanding more. And it feels natural. That is the result of consistency. Not sudden, but inevitable. Now here is the mindset you need. Stop looking for quick results. Start trusting the process. Every day you show up, you are improving, even if you don't see it immediately. Because fluency is not built in one moment. It is built in thousands of small moments. Moments when you chose to practice. Moments when you chose to continue. Moments when you chose not to quit. And those moments add up. Now imagine yourself 1 year from today. If you stay consistent, you will not be the same person. You will think differently. You will speak differently. You will feel confident. Yeah, but if you stay inconsistent, nothing changes. And that is the real cost. Not failure, but staying the same. So make a decision today, not a temporary decision, a long-term commitment. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to do a lot. You just need to show up. Every single day, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when you don't feel like it. Because those are the days that matter the most. Those are the days that build discipline. Those are the days that separate learners from fluent speakers. So remember this: small steps, done daily, create massive results. Consistency creates confidence. Consistency creates speed. Consistency creates fluency. And the day you become consistent is the day your English truly starts changing. So start today. Start small. Stay consistent. Never stop. Because your future fluency is built by what you do today. Let me leave you with one final thought. Fluency is not something you wait for. It's something you build. Not in one day, not with one video, but with small actions. Every single day. The moment you stop translating. The moment you start thinking in English. The moment you speak without fear. That is the moment everything begins to change. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Because every sentence you speak, every mistake you make, every time you try again, you are becoming better. So from today, make a decision. Don't just watch English. Don't just understand English. Start living in English. Think in it. Speak in it. Trust yourself in it. And one day, sooner than you think, you won't say, "I'm learning English." You'll say, "I speak English." If this video helped you, stay consistent, keep practicing, and don't stop here. Your fluency journey has already started. Now keep going.